AfterLife is an amazing mod. It is truly hardcore in every sense and way, and I can't tell you how much I enjoy it. It is not for everybody, but if you are into hardcore, ultra difficult, ultra grindy survival experiences, then you will fall in love with this mod. It's still in early development and definitely needs some work, but if it interests you at all, then I highly recommend it. I recently just got done a nearly 200-day playthrough, and I learned a lot of things along the way and figured I would share it with you guys. So do you think you can survive? So when you start in, there's gonna be 6 classes for you to choose from. I recommend that you do not choose Savage. It is wonderful, but you don't get the starter tutorial. And as it turns out, that tutorial is going to be necessary for you to know what you're doing. Each class starts with something different skills, different gear, and different perks. So make sure to read them and choose the one that appeals to you the most. I will be choosing the normie. I like the gear set it comes with, including a watch and a backpack, a decent bit of cash, and a business suit so we can get to work. Starting off, you do get a book. You can read said book, and that's how you accept your quest. I highly recommend trying out the quests. It will help you a lot to learn the very basics. I have to create a sling bag, but I already have a leather bag, so it's not going to be that helpful. However, we will know how to do it for the future. And there we go. We got a bag. That can go into our bag slot, which is completely new to this mod. On top of the watch spot, the compass spot, the map spot, and a torch spot. You'll see that we have no compass at the top. For that, we'd have to go and make one. However, I do not have the schematic for it, and that is just pure luck if we find it or not. That can be the same for your watch. So if we take it off, we can no longer see the day and time. That can throw you off and have hordes show up on you when you don't even think it's horde night. Now, as you probably know, you have to go and pick up stones off the ground. And now we can craft that stone into something completely brand new, a sharp stone. But this is a small sharp stone. To get a large sharp stone, we take that and we use that to throw it at a large stone just like this. As you can see, the stone that we're throwing has durability. So eventually it will break and we will have to craft a complete new one. But it should be enough to get through this one stone. There we go. It is broken. So now we do have a large stone and we can craft that into a large sharp stone if we want to. Now we need to gather some sticks. The way we do that is we look for little stick shrubs and or bushes just like this. These will give you plenty of sticks. So just walk to the forest and hit a couple as you go. We do need to make that large sharp stone. So we shall do that. And now we can craft a basic stone axe. Now we have to gather some wood and logs. So pick a tree and start whacking. Be warned that the forest is dangerous. It's not just the zombies that we have to worry about. Do note as we're hitting this tree, you can see in the bottom right, we are getting XP towards skills. And those will level up over time as you do this said skills. You can see the skills right here. Under the skills tab, each of these has a very large impact on how your game is going to be played. As well as there's a whole nother skill tree here. This tree is just for stuff that you will passively get while you're doing the skills. There are books just like normal 7 Days to Die. These are the main ones, like the stealth books, that will greatly increase your stealth. There is a crafting skill menu, and of course we have a perk tree. You level up by doing said skills in this menu right here, which will gain you XP to get skill points to spend in any of these. And this adds a ton of replayability and can make or break your playthrough, so choose wisely. We finished cutting down the tree, so we did get logs. The stump will still be here. If you leave the stump alone, but come back to it later, there's a chance that you can find honey. You do start off infected, and you will need honey to fight off the infection. So I highly recommend that you leave the stumps. Our quest here is to place 2 wooden logs. These can be used as a basic wall. They have very low health, so don't expect them to do too much. Now we have to make a campfire, which is going to be insanely important. After we've picked up 10 stones, we can now craft it into a campfire. And we'll place it down next to our wood logs. For storage early on, you can make piles of food and piles of stuff. They're completely free, so you can make as many as you want, but they have very limited storage. So trust me when I say this, you want to organize. We're going to make a bedroll, so of course we're going to need a bunch more plant fiber. Now we can make a bedroll. And there's our bed. Now our quest is to go get a cooking pot and gather some cloth. You will always spawn next to a house, and that house has a very high chance to get a cooking pot. Make yourself a weapon, go inside the first house that you spawn next to. Make sure to take on the enemies. They are tough, and you have no crosshair, so you have to get used to being able to hurt them. But trust me, With time, it will become second nature. Loot the kitchen. You will almost always find a cooking pot inside of the fridge. And be on the lookout for other food. You're gonna need glasses. That is so insanely important. You cannot craft them. However, you will need them for the entire playthrough. And the more that you have, the better. And you can always go straight towards the main loot. You don't have to loot everything in a POI every single time you go to one. So be on the lookout for POIs that you know, and you can just head up to the main loot, grab it easily, and be on your way. So we killed a bird here. I highly recommend that you break it down. Try to get one bone and craft that into a knife. And you can scrap down the vulture for a ton of feathers. That way we can turn them into arrows. We got 11 feathers just from that one vulture, as well as a ton of bones, which if we get a mortar and pestle, we can turn that into bone shards, which is another crafting material for arrows and bolts. Now you want to be on the lookout for a nice POI that has strong foundations and somewhere that you might want to live. You want to set camp inside of it, preferably one with a roof on the inside of it, because when it rains, it will lower your vitality. Which is the next thing that I want to speak about. Vitality is huge in this. You have to maintain it and you lose it while killing zombies, being near zombies, being thirsty and hungry, which trust me, you will be a lot of the time. There is some awesome perks that can mitigate this a ton. So make sure to look into these 4. This one, the Slayer perk. It gives you vitality for each kill that you get. The Decorator perk. You can pick up paintings, couches, and a whole other variety of stuff, place it down at your base, and you will gain passive vitality from it. Battle Hardened. This makes you lose less vitality from combat, and we have Survivor, which makes you lose less vitality from being hungry and thirsty. All of these will be very important. You can find containers just like this, and a lot of them will have a good chance to have something that you can drink, whether that be water, beer, Shiraz, which is just wine, honey, or any other liquid in the game. And on top of that, if you do have some liquid, you can always fill the barrel with that liquid, and that way you can store it but still use the glasses for anything else that you might need. You should also place a land claim block plus a bed, and you will see an indicator down here that we are now getting rested. And the land claim block will tell you if there's any zombies nearby within the borders of the land claim block. The rested feature will make you gain vitality or lessen the amount that you're losing. So while you're out, make sure to pick up some paintings, spice up your house, maybe a pool table, and if you click on the buffs tab over your character, you can see exactly how much vitality that it's giving you and the ways that you can improve it. You can see that there's zombies nearby me, so I do have fear. The only way to get rid of that debuff is to go out and kill the zombies. The zombies are now gone, so now we no longer have fear. And you can see that our base is now secure. So our resting rate will be normal and it will be going up even quicker. To help you with water, you can place down a rain catcher. However, it doesn't work like normal 7 days to die. You can't open it and it will just passively gain water as it rains. But in my experience, it's not that good. This will not hold you over. So you need to look to other places to get water. The way that you're going to be able to maintain your water early game is mostly going to be with the campfire. Make sure to place your pot inside the campfire. Pick up some dirty infected water by any means necessary. In my case, I'm just going to take it out of the sink. You can find a lake. Look around for it. It's everywhere. We do have to put fuel in the fire. If you want to turn it on, you can click this little fire symbol, and that doesn't require you to be doing anything with the campfire to keep it on. So, to make water, you do have to turn this dirty infected water into regular infected water. You let that cook, then you can turn 3 of those infected water into regular water. But as you can see, that's going to take 40 minutes. There is a way that we can make this go a lot faster. We can place a tarp right here, as well as a bucket, and now it's going to take half the time. But you can place a metal bucket in there, and it'll take even less time. We've gone down from 40 minutes to 15. That is so much more manageable. By the way, you can find tarp out in the world just like this, and you can just pick it up off of brick stacks and stuff like that. And you want to loot the bricks as well. We got 20 stone just from that. That is huge for us. One last thing about water is that you can make a distillery and you can fill up a bucket with water. I'm just doing it at the sink because that's nearby, but you can do that at a lake, which would be unlimited water. You will need to put fuel into this. Then you take your bucket of water, you throw it right into here, you turn it on, and it took all the water out. You can see it says dirty water right here, and over time it will turn into distilled water. This is your best source of getting water. Once you have one of these up, you are pretty much set for the rest of the playthrough. AfterLife does have 10 ores, and they're a little bit more complicated than vanilla. For instance, if you want to make a steel ingot, it's gonna require steel. How do you get steel? Well, you need to make pig iron ingots, which is gonna take iron and carbon. You can get carbon just from putting coal or charcoal into these slots right here and smelting them down. So to get charcoal, you basically just want to be burning wood for fuel, and you will get it over time, however very slowly. But you can make a charcoal kiln, which is only used to make charcoal, and you'll get way more from it. So definitely look into that, and that will get you carbon. Once you make the pig iron, you smelt it down, and then you can make steel. But if you want to make bronze, you're gonna need copper and tin. And now there's a tier above steel. It's called Inconel, and it's much tougher than steel. So if you get far enough in, I highly recommend you check it out. However, it's going to be much more difficult to get. Another tip I wanted to give you guys is you should definitely be scrapping down cars. You get so many materials, especially short iron pipes. These are huge. You get them in such an abundance, and they're used in a lot of important things that would normally take a lot of iron from you. Plus, you get an insane amount of scrap metal, which is used for tools. Mechanical parts are very important. On top of, you can get batteries and engines, which as you know is very good for you. But you can get radiators, and they are amazing if you smelt them down. You just throw them right into the forge, and they are gonna take a little while. However, they're gonna give you a ton of brass. So once you're done smelting just a couple of these, you are gonna be set on brass to make a ton of bullet casings, and you'll never have to worry about this. On top of that, you can smelt down batteries, and you can get a ton of lead off of that. Another big win for bullets. The mod does add in 2 more vehicles, the box truck and the buggy, which are both very unique. This one is great for hauling a ton of resources across a map, and this one is a mix between a bike and a 4x4 pickup truck, which leads me to how to use them. As you can see, this has no gas, and if you were just coming from vanilla 7 days, you would think I would just hold this down and look for the refuel button. That is no longer a thing, so we're gonna have to do things a little bit differently. Of course, you are still gonna need a chemistry table. However, instead of making gas, you're gonna make something called fuel. You will notice that there's no way to directly put it into it. But if you find one of these, you can find fuel barrels out in the world, pretty much everywhere you go. And you can bring one home, and then you can put the fuel into the barrel. Then you take a jerry can. In my experience, I found jerry cans just by looting regular trucks just like this one right here. It's not a guarantee. However, they are somewhat common. Make sure to be looking in all the vehicles. Once you have obtained one, you can left click this to store the fuel that we just put in there into our jerry can. Then we go over to the buggy and we right click to put the fuel into the buggy. And now we're able to drive. However, there's a few more things that we need to get done at the house. You can make one of these. It is a kiln, and this is used to make bricks. The only way to be upgrading and using your materials is through mallets, the regular claw hammer, and a nail gun. And when you're ready to build, you hold down R and you get this little wheel and you can choose what you want to make. And by the way, if you have a stone hammer, you will only see 4 of these. Once you get up to the bronze hammer, you will see concrete. And once you get the claw hammer, you can now use steel and Inconel. But brick is the best thing that you can make in the early game, and it's pretty obtainable. You will need to put these brick molds into the kiln. They are fairly cheap, so definitely a must-have. You can fill this kiln up with a ton of clay and of course fuel. Get that going, and over time, it will make bricks with this clay, just like so. By the way, when you are trying to smelt things in your forge, I did want to mention that there is a required heat level. If we throw in one piece of wood, you will notice that this bar rises, but it's stuck on the second bar. So if I were to throw in this iron right here, it would not smelt. You can use charcoal as fuel as well. It will not smelt the iron. It is just simply too cold. So we can take that out and we can put normal coal into it, and the bar is just right and it will continue to smelt. However, a lot of these ores have different smelting levels, so make sure to read them as you go to see what you need. For some of these higher ones, even the coal will not be able to do it, and you'll need something like anthracite, which is a heat level of 4, but this one right here takes level 5, so we would need a bellows combined with the higher level with the anthracite to be able to smelt it. So now that you have all that done, you're gonna need to know how to build. You don't make wooden cubes anymore. There is no making cobblestone cubes, nothing like that. You make this, it's called a planning tool, and we can place it down. There is no physics on it. You don't have to worry about it collapsing. You can just make whatever you want, but as soon as you upgrade it, that if it is not supported, it will fall. And we can just upgrade it straight to brick. We don't need to go to wood, to cobblestone, to brick. We can just go straight to where we want it to be. And that goes for all the blocks. Which, by the way, a lot of these blocks have very specific things that they need. This requires pitch, primitive mortar, and mortar. The pitch and mortars are going to require a mortar and pestle. However, a lot of other things will also require it, like paste, which a lot of these pastes are used for other things as well, including making a map. You should definitely make a map as soon as you can. They're pretty reasonably priced, and they work as a regular map, so now you can figure out where you are and where you need to be, which is very useful. I highly recommend it. It will make your life so much easier. You can make the Siphia paste by getting these glowing mushrooms that will only be seen at night. Right here is one of the mushrooms I was talking about. You can break it down, and we got 3 of the spores. You bring that back to the mortar and pestle, and you can use that with the honey to make Siphia syrup, which will reduce your zombie infection. You will know it when you see them. They are everywhere. But you make the paste, you combine it with the special type of honey. The stumps have a chance. There's going to be bees flying all around it. And if you see that, there's going to be either Manuka honey or regular honey. And you can use that to get rid of some of your infection. But anyway, back to the mortar. For that, we're going to need clay, a wooden bucket filled with water, and limestone powder. You make the limestone powder in the mortar and pestle. You just get limestone and then you turn it into the powder. Limestone's a bit tricky to get, but you are gonna need to dig down for it. You can get limestone just from breaking rocks. So dig down and just start whacking away and you'll have a pretty good chance of finding some. Sometimes you can randomly get it just like this, but there is some stone that is completely white and it'll give you much more than you would if you were just hitting one at a time. The way that I like to get it is go into my iron farm and I would just mine out all the iron, and by doing that I would get a ton of iron and a ton of limestone. So once you get some limestone, make sure to turn it into powder. Use the powder with the clay and the water bucket, and then you can make mortar. But if you're trying to make primitive mortar, all you need is clay, plant fibers, and the water in the bucket. By the way, it is getting dark outside, so now we're gonna have to worry about light. In your player tab right here, where you can see the watch and whatnot, there is a torch tab. So we can throw one on our back, and now we have light around us. However, this will draw in zombies that are nearby. So that's a trade-off that you're gonna have to decide that you're willing to make. Now we're gonna head over to the nearest town to show you guys some other things that you need to know. Okay, so we've arrived at town, but I'm getting a bit heavy, and that's something that you're gonna have to manage. Each item has its own weight, as well as the normal default 7 days system. So if you fill up your inventory and you have to place items within these locked slots, you will get over encumbered. Making new and better backpacks can definitely help with that. So when you're in town, you're gonna want to look out for workstations, forges, cement mixers, and mailboxes. Mailboxes are gonna be your best friend. Loot every single one. You are gonna find magazines. You do not want to read every single magazine. So you want to use only the things that you really want to use, and even then you might just want to scrap said magazine. It will turn into fragments. You can make a research table, and you can spend said fragments on things that you really need, like a forge ahead. However, that's going to take 5 fragments. So you're going to have to scrap down 5 magazines just for one of these magazines. You can craft fragments, however they are very expensive, but that is definitely something that you want to consider. But I found that the best way for me to get a whole bunch of magazines and a whole bunch of fragments is to just ride around towns and loot the mailboxes and only keep the things that you are looking for. This is not the mod to be the everything guy. Know what you want to get into and only do that. By the way, we have arrived at a trader. This is an amazing place to be. You can find forges just like this, and they have a really good chance for forge aheads. You can break them down for forge ahead XP. As you can see in the bottom right, we just leveled up. Workstation crafting. These boxes right here can have amazing loot in them. I've found guns, tons of nails, tools, augers, all that good stuff in these. Definitely be looking in them. Even more nails, electrical parts. Look in them, please, trust me. And traders will often have a bunch of water and other liquids such as beer and Shiraz. Such as this, beer in this one. However, be very cautious with beer. Beer is way crazier in this, and it will make your game borderline unplayable, as well as if you drink too much, your guy will get sick, and it'll lose all of your food and water. Also, something to note is that there is no trader. On top of there being a new vending machine at each trader, sometimes multiple, and there's a lot of new guns in here, and a lot of them are insanely cool. But they require old dukes, and quite a lot of them, so make sure to be looting every cash register that you can find. Be on the lookout for dollars. And you can come up to this vending machine right here, and you can throw the dollars right into here, and it will convert it to old dukes. Old dukes is the currency that this vending machine requires, so be looking for all the dollars that you can find. By the way, something that you should definitely be looking into is pallets like this. You can loot them. Oftentimes you will find a ton of paper and glue. Then you can break them down, and you will also get a ton of paper from them. Absolutely worth it. These 18-wheelers are amazing for this. However, you can find that inside of regular buildings and stuff like that. See, there's even more inside of this one. Also, tires are great to break down for polymer, of course, as well as a ton of other things. You can scrap these gas pumps right here for steel and stuff, which is amazing to have, but you can also find gas in them. So always check them and see if they have fuel, because that is just free fuel for you. You're practically going to be living off of them until you can get a chemistry table up. You can find these ATMs that are locked. You should always be breaking into them because they'll have a high chance of getting you a ton of dollars, as seen right here. On top of treasure maps are amazing for getting a ton of dukes. AfterLife has a lot of cool things that you can find from the vanilla game that actually have purpose. Like this saw here, you can use it to make regular wood, but it's slightly more efficient and a little bit quicker at it. So definitely be on the lookout for them and make sure to pick them up. When you find high tiered loot such as this, you don't have to break into it immediately. Locked boxes can actually be picked up and the loot inside of them will not be destroyed, and you can bring them to higher tiered biomes and POIs, drop them down inside and break them open to get better loot. And once you're done using the box, you can pick it back up and you can smelt it down for the resources. The wasteland is extra scary. There is a whole bunch of new zombie types, such as these. They're blue zombies, and they create this weird whispering sound, calls in nearby zombies to come chase you down. On top of that, these zombies are smarter and they know how to open doors. So don't think that a normal door is just gonna stop them. They will just open it up and eat you. This mod also adds in new variants of a whole bunch of zombies that we know and love, as well as the wildlife, such as the polar bear, a bigger, meaner bear that will eat you with no cause. However, he's adorable. This will be the bane of your existence. This is what's known as the stoner. He's a little bit different. If you get close to him, he will chase you down like a normal zombie. But if you get far enough away, he will chuck stones at you which explode. Which is bad enough as is, but is terrifying on Horde Night. And if you thought radiated zombies were bad enough, wait until you see these guys. They are bigger, meaner, and scarier. But do be warned, you won't be seeing them unless you get very far in. So make sure to choose to spend your time wisely and get ready for them. Now, I wish I knew all these things when I started off, but I was lucky enough for you guys to share a lot of this info with me. So I wanted to pass a lot of this off to you guys, to anybody that might need this. And please go down in the comments and share anything else that you might have learned that I haven't already mentioned. I know I and anybody else that needs it will very much so appreciate it. And if you want to see me learning all these things, there's a playlist linked down below of me trying to survive with only the knowledge that I learned from playing and from you guys. So anyway, I hope this helped, and good luck surviving.